Welcome back. So in the last part we built the top of this leg. Now we're going to start working up towards the hip. Once we've got this in, we can start building more superfluous detail anyway. So as this is the right leg, what I'm going to do is have the hip come out through here. So let's open this out. What I need to do is build a socket area for the hip to go into. Now the easiest way to do this really is going to be just to pull a sphere from here. Wait for autosave to do its thing. Just pull it out in the middle like that. Now it's got too many segments at the minute. And what I'm going to do is bring that across to about there. Like that. And I want to bring this down to about, like I said, maybe 24 segments. I could possibly bring it even lower than that if I really wanted to. Convert to editable polygon. Now, what I need to do here is just take this edge and just loop it, sorry, and control select by polygon, and then detach as a clone, so that it doesn't take it obviously from the original face there. Right, now if I select this part and select this border and delete it, that leaves us just this part here. Now if I select this border here, just fast ways really of kind of dealing with things and getting our polygons to work. Now if I select everything there like that and just flip it all, it'll all be facing the right way now. Okay, now go back into the move tool and bring that to about there. We don't need to close it unless you absolutely feel like it. Okay, let's go around the other side. This is all going to be just one piece incidentally once we're finished. Now over here, what I could also have done, by the way, is hemisphered this if I wanted to. We can attach these together. The entire ball socket of the hip can operate from here, or it can operate a bit further up from the actual main hip area. It's entirely up to you how you want to do that. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit and I should try and avoid that. What I'm going to do is, I haven't finished this yet, so I'm not going to build the pivot for it yet. I'm going to bring this part here, hit F3, and I'm going to cap it at this end. There's a reason for that. I can now grab this polygon, and if I just pull it across like that, you'll see we can get it to come out on this side, and this will give it an element of strength that it wouldn't otherwise have. We'll just clone it to an element for the moment, we don't need it on anything else. And now I'm going to bevel it. Like so. Just basically adding what I like to call areas of interest to our model. And if you can actually get the hang of doodling like this using the bevel tool, it will make things a lot easier. There we go. Okay, I'm back in like so. Just basically trying to make it look like everything serves a purpose even when it doesn't. These would be things like tightening rings and stuff like that if this was the real world. Okay, but as we pull back now, you see we've got an extra level of detail in here that we didn't have before. Okay, now over here, where this is, we can now pull this out a bit more and take a few more details off it. So I'm going to delete that and these. And now I can cap this. Like so. And then with that capped, I can now start by doing a bevel. And we're going to build basically what looks like a piston but isn't, because we're never going to use it as a piston. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, if you wanted to give the legs a greater range of expansion, but really there's no point. and we can make it look good without actually making it functional, which is part of the whole kind of basis of building an ergonomic model in the first place. It looks as if it should have function, when, you know, there's no real way that it should. See? Into there, like that. And now what we need to do is find a way of ending this, pardon me, as a ball unit inside. So, again, what I'm going to do is grab all that, do a shift, and I'm going to shift drag this 180 degrees. Now it'll ask me if I want it as an element, and the answer is yes. I can now drag my element across to here, like that. Now, what I'm going to do is go over here, and if I select this border and this border here, inside there we have a polygon that I'm going to need to kill first. There we are. Now if I select our borders, I can now bridge those, and as you see we have our end cap piece. Okay, so that's going to work for us now. Okay, so if we have a cap piece, we can now attach that into a hip system. So what I'm going to do is create a hip system off this, and again I'm just going to just detach that, and I'm detaching it as a clone rather than an element. Now what I want to do here is just flip it. So select it all, flip, and then if I take this border here, I can expand it like that, and if I just take these two here and here, now I can't grow them here, and if you're not using 3ds Max 10, we can't use the grow functions that we have in 3ds Max 10, unfortunately, for that. So there we are, move that onto that, and now what I'm going to do is grab that, move that to about there, like so. Okay, now what I need to do is mirror this. Before I do, I'm going to add a slightly different shape to it, because I want to kind of tilt what would technically be the pelvis forward, and that gives us an idea of kind of where the front of this fellow is. There and there. Okay. Next, if I just take this object now and mirror, just using the mirror tool up here, make it a copy, and I'm just going to grab it and drag it over to, wrong part. Right, so I'm going to grab this part and hope vaguely that the recording that I just did hasn't been paused for too long without me realising it. Right, now if I just pull these here to here, I could have used the symmetry tool as well. Now because I've used that, if I just do a reset on the X form, you'll notice it'll go inside out. So just convert editable poly, flip the entire bally lot, and like magic it's the right way again. Okay, now if I take this and attach the two together, Control A just to select all the verts and weld. That'll get rid of any excess that we've got. And then over here, if I just go to my pivots, effect pivot only center to object for the moment, that'll get that moved into the right direction. Now, as you can see, we're certainly starting to get there now. So, I'm doing this in the front, which means this is technically the left, but never mind. I built it as the right one, and that's all that matters to me. Hit F3, there's my pivot there. I'm going to move my pivot along so it comes out of there, like that. Okay, now this part is loose. It can be loose or it can be non-loose depending on exactly what your stance on this whole thing is. Now I'm going to add slightly more of a kind of strengthening piece to this middle part. So I'm just going to chamfer it nice and wide, and then on all the parts that aren't the top I'm going to do a bevel, but I'm going to do it by local normal. Then I'm going to click cancel and click the bevel button again. That way I can freehand it. There we go. And that gives us that. Alright, next. I'm going to keep these two pieces loose, the reason being that this kind of hip bone here, slash kind of hip flexor connector, is going to give us a lot more leeway than if we have this as one solid leg piece, because we're not going to get much flexibility of the leg otherwise. So because of that, I need to make sure that our pivot is in the correct place for this one, which at the minute it isn't. So let's move our pivot up just to there, like so. Now then, control mechanisms for this piece here. Okay, we can do pretty much the same as we did down here when it comes down to it. All we have to do really is just take one of these, hold shift and drag it away from the main body. Okay, and then just scale it a little bit. Once we've scaled it as an item like that, we can then select and rotate the entire lot. And you'll notice obviously that it kind of stays together while we're doing this, which is kind of useful. Then move this up here, get in fairly close. Let's just reduce it in size again. It's always useful being able to reuse things like this. Now then, if we take the ball socket and connect the ball socket to this part here, like that. Okay, so this is now basically, this part here is separate as we know and connected to this. So this part's going to move when the hip moves, okay? So this ball's going to be kind of shunting around and so on. Let's also move this down to here. We can actually move that into there, I think. Yeah, that'll probably work. Before we do then, let's just increase the scale a teeny bit more. As long as we're doing a uniform scale, we're not going to break anything, because I don't have any helpers in this or anything else like that. Okay. Move that into there, just so I've got the lip overhang. Now over here, onto that. Okay, and what we should do is we should make two of those. So I'm going to grab this one, like that. And if I just drop into perspective, well, I'm still in perspective, shift and angle it by 90 degrees. Click OK. Now we can move it into the right position. Making sure it's in the right position, obviously. And you'll notice how this gives the impression that it's a lot more strong than it really is. It's a very, very helpful thing to do for a model. It really adds strengthening to it. And the good thing is that as we've only set this up once, we haven't really needed to set it up loads of times after that. These are independent of our bone rig as well when we actually create it. Let's move this a little bit more this way. There, and as you see now we have 3 pistons connecting this lot together. So we're going to have our hip, and it's going to actually work with these things, hopefully the way that we want them to. Now what we might need to do is possibly lengthen, or actually I don't think we need to lengthen these, because the way it's going to move, the hip's going to go up and down. So as long as these are bound correctly, we should be okay. Now then, the pivot on this is set. The pivot on this is set from the middle there, which is fine. I'm going to attach these parts to it, like that. Now then, this is a completely independent piece here. The knee looks fine. Alright, so I think that is just about ready now, so it's just